So it's just a casual Friday in April, but taxes are due at the end of this month. So in today's video, I'll be going over how you can file your taxes with TurboTax. This video was sponsored by TurboTax, and right now it is completely free to use. So if you want, you can check out the link down below in the description and sign up today. I'll be showing you how the free version can be used later on in this video. Today I'll be showing you how you can enter your T4, followed by how you can enter bank interest, dividend income, followed by capital gains tax, which I haven't seen too many people show how you do this. Then we'll go over RRSP contributions, a couple of the benefits to try to save you guys money on taxes, and to finish out, I'll show you how to get to the end and file your taxes. Note that all the numbers that I'm using here are just fictitious numbers, and I'll be showing you some statements that are example statements along the way of what you should expect from these T statements that you're going to receive from your bank or from your company which you work for. So this is what makes TurboTax amazing, because it's completely free to file as long as you know what you're doing. And with TurboTax, you can file on your phone at first and then move over to the desktop and switch back to your phone if you want to. So I'll be showing you how you can start off on your phone, then we'll move over to my desktop and we'll finish off the filing there. If you are eligible for a refund at the end of your return, then you should expect your return to be processed within 10 business days on TurboTax. So let me grab my phone and we'll start off there for a fun Friday night doing taxes. So I've already started a return earlier just to get an idea of what the platform's like, but we're going to start a new 2020 return. So we're going to click on the free version because we're interested in free tax returns. We're going to file, and the first page that we see that pops up. So they're going to ask a few questions here. How did you do your taxes last year? I'm just going to say I'm filing for the first time. I'm just going to go through a series of questionnaires and fast forward the video here. So here we're going to fill out some personal information, so we'll do that on my computer now. I signed into TurboTax on my computer, and we're going to continue where I left off. This social insurance number is fake, and we're going to be using some other fake information just to show you guys how we can do a tax return. So I'm going to fill in some information here, and we will be back once I'm done doing that. Okay, so down here, I'm going to pretend this is the first time I'm filling out my tax return with the CRA. I'm a Canadian citizen, and yes, I want to register for this so that I'm noticed of future elections. I'm not a Canadian Indian as defined by the Indian Act, and I do not need to file my taxes for prior years. I'm going to select my province or territory, and I did not move. My residency did not change in 2020. Here, I'll quickly enter in some contact info. Again, it's going to be fake. Here's some other questions. So I do not hold any foreign property that's more than $100,000. I do not dispose of any property. I was not incarcerated, in prison, or in similar institutions. I do not have any mental or physical impairments. I do have a tax-free account as well as an RRSP, so we're going to tick these boxes off because probably most of you guys have these accounts as well. So this is information. I'm going to confirm this. So this is just telling us what's new to taxes this year. So we have some employment benefits like CERB or CESP. There's also a work from home expense, which I'll show you later on in this video, as well as there's childcare costs, which I won't be going over in this video. The Canadian training credit, I won't be going over this, nor will I be going over the digital news subscription tax credit either. But you can read up on these in a little bit more detail if you qualify for them. So I'm going to continue using the free version. I don't want to add these benefits. So I'm not going to securely import my tax info because this is a fake return, and I'll show you guys exactly how to enter stuff manually. So first we're starting off with the income. So for the income, we're going to be adding a form, which is the T4. And I'm going to pull over a T4 just to show you guys an example of what it looks like. So let's add a T4 for me. So these are all the fields, and it's basically just like you match the numbers from your T4 to the numbers over here. So this is a T4 here. I'm just going to pull it over to the side and enter these numbers. So number 14 is 20,000, which is my total income. We've also got box 22, which is the income taxes that were already deducted. So $4,000 were deducted. Then in box 24, these are my insurable earnings, which is $20,000. Box 16, my CPP contribution. Box 17, I'm not in Quebec, so I don't have QPP contributions. Box 26, these are CPP pensionable earnings, which is $20,000. And box 44 are my union fees. So this T4 has $30 of union fees. Box 46, these are charitable donations, so I paid $20 according to this T4. Then we have box 18, the EI premiums that I paid, which were around $60. And looking at the rest of this T4, we've got box 85, which is my premiums paid for a private health plan. $200 were added towards that. There is no box 84, so we don't have to worry about that. Box 40 are other taxable benefits. So there are $10 of other taxable benefits. In addition to that, we have to fill out the province of employment, so I'll say Ontario. And lastly here, I'm going to be claiming COVID-19 expenses for working at home. So I'll save and continue. And this is our T4. If you guys have multiple T4s, you can add an extra one. So I'm done for T4 slips for now. So here's a list of other income that we can declare. I mentioned before, we're going to have some investments, so capital gains, as well as I'm going to show you how to file interest payments and dividend payments. And these are all in non-registered accounts. If you have dividends or interest or capital gains in a TFSA, you don't need to declare them here. So interest income is going to come from a T5. So we're going to add a T5 here. So T5, we can see investment income. Let's go to that. Enter into T5. So T5 I'll be using is right here. We earned $209.65 from a Canadian source. So I'll be entering that into box 13 over here. The example T5 didn't have any taxable dividends. So there's actual amounts of eligible dividends as well as taxable amounts of eligible dividends. Then there's other boxes for other than eligible dividends, whether they're actual or taxable. So we're going to just fill out actual amount of eligible dividends as well as taxable amount of eligible dividends. The numbers I'm going to use for that is 250 and 240. But if you guys have dividends, they should be displayed on a T5 statement. Box 25 will be 240, which is the taxable amount, and the actual amount is 250. So here we're done with dividends, so I'm going to hit done with T5. And I'm done with the T5 statements. Now I'm going to add some capital gains. So I'm looking for taxable capital gains. So capital gains is right here. This is the form. So I'm going to say that I sold stocks. Let's say I sold 10 shares of Shopify. So from what I've seen doing taxes over the years, you aren't actually given a T form like a T5 or anything like that that shows you your total amount of capital gains. In fact, I've always had to calculate this myself. So I have to find a way to either go back into my records and figure out what my book cost was, and I can see from the trading summary every year for my brokerage what the sale price and the number of units are. So I'm going to say that I sold some publicly traded shares. I'm not going to claim anything for my spouse. The number of units, let's say I sold about 20 Shopify shares. You don't necessarily need to place the corporation name, but I'm going to place that right here anyways. There's no maturity date for these bonds because they're not bonds. Let's say I acquired them in 2019. And the date of disposition, we'll say I dispose of them on December 1st, 2021. The proceeds of my disposition, let's say I sold 20 shares for about $1,000 each. So that's about $20,000. The adjusted cost basis, I'd have to look back into my records to see how much I bought each share for. For here, we'll just make up a number. Let's say I bought them for $500 per share. So if we multiply that by 20, then we're running at $10,000. Then we have outlays and expenses. So these are things like brokerage fees and stuff like that. So the fees to actually sell a stock, let's say I'm going with Questrade, is about $4.95. So we're going to enter that here. One thing I forgot to mention up here in the adjusted cost basis is that you can include commission fees here. At least according to this description here, it says adjusted cost basis is usually the cost of property plus any expenses to acquire it, such as commissions and legal fees. So from this perspective, I'm going to be adding commission fees from Questrade of $4.95. Now there's no eligible amount of gifts, so I'm going to leave this as 0 and we're going to hit done. So you can see from this example of how you enter capital gains for a stock position that you sold out. If you're a day trader and you trade like 5 or 10 times every single day, you're going to have to report 5 times about 200. That's about 1,000 lines of capital gains summaries. So if you're a day trader, maybe you want to rethink your strategy if you don't want to have such a huge headache during tax season. Or you can hire an accountant and pay some absurd fees. Now there's no other income that I want to go over in this section here. We're going to continue to the next section here. We're not going to upgrade. and we're going to see if we can reduce our taxable income through the RRSP. So I'm going to skip this RRSP optimizer, and I'm going to add a RRSP report. So RRSP profile, let's add this. So let's say I made a contribution in 2020. I also have unused contribution from last year. Here we're going to add the RRSP deduction limit, which we can find on CRA's online service in the My Account section. And it'll look something like this. So this says the RRSP deduction limit for 2011, but let's say this is our limit for 2020, the RRSP deduction limit. So I'll enter $55,710. I'm going to enter my unused amount, and I'm going to keep it at $55,710. So now I'm going to enter a new RRSP contribution, which I made this year. And the RRSP issue, it's optional. I'm not going to enter that. It's going to be for the 2020 period. If you guys contributed to your RRSP, you should have gotten a slip that looks something like this, just a lot less fuzzy. And this shows the amount that I contributed, so we're going to put 8,000. I'm not going to contribute anything to my spouses, and we're going to hit done. We're going to hit done here. Now the optimizer, we're going to skip this. And now this shows us our summary for the RRSP section. Now we're going to go through some deductions. Here's a list of all the deductions that you can find. So if you take a quick gander, see which ones apply to you and look for the form. For our purposes, we're going to go through the employment expenses because we're going to try to claim the COVID expense. So I'm going to click yes here. I'm going to say I did not receive either from my employer. Then it's going to ask me a series of questions. Was I required to work from home for at least 50% of the time for a period of 4 consecutive weeks or more in 2020? I'll say yes. Were you required to pay for expenses related to your home workspace that weren't fully reimbursed by your employer? I'll say yes, I was required. Things like electricity and stuff should count. So here we're going to do the flat rate method because it's a lot more simpler. I'm going to type in the number of days that I work from home. Let's say I put in 100 days, and I'm going to hit continue. Here I'm not going to worry about this page because it talks about things like if you bought different property for your workspace, but I didn't do that, so I'm going to continue on. So a weird quirk that I found here is that it brings me to the capital gain summary page, so I'm going to hit done here, and I'm going to switch back over to deductions. So now looking at the rest of these deductions, I don't have any other deductions that I want to declare here. So we're going to scroll all the way down and hit continue. Now we're going to maximize our provincial credits and deductions. So it says I live here in Ontario, click continue. I cannot apply for any of the top 4, but I can apply for the climate action incentive. And here, if you want to see what it is, this is for people who live in Saskatchewan, Manitoba, Ontario, or New Brunswick. So I'm going to click yes to this because I pay my own property tax, or for you, maybe you pay your own rent. Down here it asks if I lived in Northern Ontario, and if you want to find out which cities are eligible for that, you can click on this link right here. So I'm going to leave this box as no. Now I will type an address and number of months, amount paid. Let's say I paid about $3,000 and I paid property tax, and I'm going to skip this. I'm going to say no here because I want to get my payments every single month, and I was not a student, so I did not live in any of these spaces. These 2 questions here, I'm going to answer no as well, so we're going to continue on. And I did not reside outside of these, so I'm going to click no. And it looks like I am eligible for the climate action incentive. Just another thing to note, you can see your tax refund in real time. If it's green, you are owed money, and if it's another color, which I believe it's orange or maybe red, then you owe money to the government. So now we're done with this section here. Now we can review. So this basically gives you a summary of your income, your RRSP, your credits, and we're going to hit continue. At this point, they're going to ask you if you want an expert to review. I'm going to hit no thanks. So this is where we're going to review our numbers. So my total income is here, subtract deductions from expenses, and it looks like my tax refund is still $5,731. This is the estimated amount for the Ontario Trillium benefit and the estimated GST and HST credit. So I'll hit continue at this point. And I'm going to hit no. I don't want a direct deposit, but if you want to, you can set up a direct deposit. And lastly, this is where it's going to show you how to file. So at this point, when you get to the filing hub, you can click Net File, but I'm not going to file my return. So that's basically the end of how you can do a tax return, where we covered how to enter your dividend income, how to enter your bank interest, how to do capital gains, as well as enter your T4 and claim the COVID benefit. If you guys have any questions, leave a comment down below, as well as click the like button if this video was useful to you. Subscribe and hit that notification bell if you're interested in Canadian stock content. And if you guys want to check out 2 other videos of mine, they're on the screen for you to see right here. If you're there, I'll see you there. If not, keep up the grind and have a great day.